podcast. I ask that you go on to either Facebook or YouTube. I try to get this on LinkedIn also to see the charts and data that I'm going to share with you. Now, we're into this new year, right? And if you've been in the business for a while, you know this is kind of the slow season, and then things pick up going in February, March as tax season comes around. So, what I'm about to say and what the market condition is, people have been in business for a while go, oh, that's smart, genius. If you've been in business, you know that, but there's a lot of people that don't. So, I want to go over this to give anybody heads up and a peek of what's going on and what might be around the corner. Things that I think are going to come around the corner are speculative. I'm just guessing, but I'm going to do my 30 years of experience kind of feeling this out, and especially the last 15 years or 20 years of used car management experience. I want to kind of give you what I see and what I think might happen. And of course, anything can go any which way. As we know, COVID threw us a curveball that took the world upside down. So let's start with where we're at currently right now. So filings are just starting, and so tax season hasn't really hit its peak yet. We were hearing John Ellis this morning talking on Clubhouse about how filings just started this week, and it'll take a couple weeks for them to pan out. Again, one of the areas I'm going to share my screen right now, give you a little cheat sheet here, but there's an IRS filing. Stats that you can track. Last year, we're keeping an eye on this. This was last year. You could look and see again how many files, how many people were filing, and what kind of returns, and how many actually got the return, and what the return amount was. And so this is a good area over the next couple months to keep an eye on. See if filings are starting to come. See if it's higher or lower. And see if people are getting their money. And so this is a good place to track. Again, this was last year's data. They haven't implemented this year's data yet, but I would imagine it's coming in the next 30, 40 days. Now, let's talk about shopper indexes and patterns. In our tool, we do track shopper activity. We track inventory levels. So again, year over year, we're looking at used car listings, 1.4 and 1.19 million last year to this year, 1.48 and 1.3. There's about 100,000 more used cars, and new cars have, last year 2 million, 1.6 to almost 2 million, 1.6. So there was an uptick. Obviously, all the 2025s and those are starting to clear out, and now we're getting 2026s and stuff building back up. I'm going to go over the new car stuff here in a minute, but what we continue to see is our dealers' 2-week volume is down. It's at 40%. The shopper index is trending down, and I'll go over that more live here in a minute. But let's just look at it, how that compares to previous years. If you look at previous years, we go back to 2022, 2023, and you look at where in that. Now, 2023 was a funny year in January, because I think that's the year that a lot of people had to replace cars. A lot of offices were requiring people to come back to the office in 2023. But if we compare it at 2024, around the same time, our dealers' volume was at 44, 45%, and it really didn't peak until and think about that. That's looking at the last 2 weeks. So that goes back to mid-January to January 30th was at 45%. And then it peaked here at 3.5. March 5th, which again, we're looking at 2-week sales volume. Dealers hit 56% 2-week sales volume. That means they're going to sell 112% of their inventory in a month. But that's looking at 2 weeks. So the peak in volume really started mid-February. So you could see here, January is still not that peak. But the shopper index was going up at that point in time. The red line, the shopper index, was starting to go up in January, and then in February, and then the peak sales was in March. And if you go back to last year, again, 114, dealers' volume is 42%. If we go right here on 218, dealers were still in the 40% 2-week sale rate. And again, it didn't peak out. I think it was March 10th or so, 11th is when it kind of peaked up. And so we are about 2 weeks away from that volume uptick going into February. So I'm not surprised at where we're at right now. That goes back to my beginning. Well, of course, it's slow winter. If you've been in selling any cars, you know that. So this is typical. But here's what's not, I would say, typical. If we looked at the past 12 months, the shopper index last year was 79, dropped down to 76 February. But then by, again, that March peak of shopper activity for used cars. and then it drops down through the spring. So mid-March is when that peaks, and then it'll start dropping off. And so we still in that realm, right? 79, 76 this time last year, and we're at 72. So it is at a lower, and it's trending down. And so again, that's why our dealers volume is trend down. But if we look at how this fits in the last 5 years, in a 5-year trajectory here, you're going to be able to see, I mean, this shopper index is pretty low, 46. I mean, when has it been lower? January of 2025, but that was the beginning of January. This time last year in a 5-year window is at 49. When has it been lower? 48. We're talking December of 2022. And so, this shopper index is as low as 2022. Okay. It's been as low as the last, 3-4 years. So it's pretty dang low. Well, why? Well, we see headlines and things like this. U.S. consumer confidence is collapsing, right? This was saying that officially puts consumer confidence below the 2020 pandemic levels. And that's this little index here dropping down. Again, you look at 2020. So if you look at that drop off in correlation to what I was just showing you in the shopper indexes, pretty darn similar. So I'm hoping this year that we get a better tax return happening. White House is boosting that the big beautiful bill will put about $1,000 more into people's pockets in their tax return. If that's the case, last year people averaged $3,100 in their tax return, so maybe they get $4,000. But what are they going to do with this money? Do they have debt that they got to get caught up on? Did they put Christmas on and any current vacations on credit cards this year that they might need to get caught up on? And so where my projection is, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. My projection is there's a lot of new cars sitting out. And the Fed didn't lower the rate yesterday or the day before. So I think it was yesterday. The Fed did not lower the rates. So with interest rates staying high, are people going to borrow and spend money on this tax season? Are they going to pay things back? And it's going to be a soft tax season. That's the stuff we can speculate, and I don't know. And again, anything can throw us a curveball. But here's what I think will happen. I think new cars, like I was just on a call with Ford, there really wasn't a ton of rebates and stuff going on right now. I think new cars, especially these OEMs that are sitting on stuff, will put out some kind of good special rates and rebates. I think 0% and $5,000 rebates or something. I think on new cars, if it doesn't happen at the beginning of February, maybe mid-February, that stuff happens. The reason why I say maybe not at the beginning, they maybe want to kind of see if consumers will come out of the woodwork with tax return. And if they don't by mid-February, they start pushing these incentives. And so my estimate would be, I think new cars is going to get a lot of that tax season incentives and hype, and there'll be some really sweet deals out there. If that does happen, then used car trade-ins will come in. It'll start impacting used car values, especially late model used cars, if there's that good of deals on new, which then used cars become trickier. But we sell 3 times more used cars than we do new cars, so more consumers will be looking at used car alternatives also. So it could keep, if the tax season's good and people decide to spend this money and not hold off or pay off debt, then, I think used will be strong. But I think if the OEMs react, which I believe they will, and start getting huge incentives and 0% going on, a combination of the two, I think you're going to run into good new car business. And a lot of these people that bought these COVID cars that were out around, they're starting to get better equity situations, owning them for 3-4 years plus years now. And so they might be able to get out of these cars a little bit easier now, especially with the big incentive, which should good drive some new car results. So we're really focusing, matter of fact, we're offering our current clients some new car help. And so we're really focusing on helping dealers with new cars either way. And our product, if you got used, we could throw new car data in there too. And we can show you switch opportunities. Here's a new car lead that was on this truck. You got a used one, or you got a used car truck lead that might switch to a new for the same price. So we look at stuff like that. But I think here's the other phases that's going to happen with this increase in shopper activity. Hopefully, you're going to have a BDC or sales team. Let's say you get 300 leads a month and you got 3 people handling those leads, 100 a piece. And that's kind of what you've been pacing out with. Well, if we get a big influx of lead activity, all of a sudden you got 500 leads and the same three people handling it. And that's where kind of like, think about turnaround time. You have a process where your team can handle 10 cars a week, but all of a sudden you throw 30 cars at them because you went on a buying spree. And so now they're starting to get jammed up and the work isn't as good. They're way behind. So that can happen. And now you got 30 cars going through a staff that can only handle 10. So same thing can happen for leads. You're not going to go hire somebody for the 2-month traffic uptick, but you pretty much are going to be short staffed. You're going to get 300 leads turning into 500 leads with 3 people still handling. And what they're going to end up doing is cherry picking the fresh leads or anybody getting back to them. Other than that, they're moving on. And so a lot of missed opportunities is going to happen. That's where we're helping them say, hey, you don't need to weed through 300 leads. There's 50 of them that are on cars in stock. We haven't followed up in 2 days. So, these are the things that are going to happen here in the near future. So you're going to want to stay ahead of these. Those two things. If new cars don't happen and the market stays soft because of the tax returns taking a while and people are spending money elsewhere to get caught back up, you're going to have to be disciplined in used cars and new. If new does pick up, like I said, and big incentives are happening, trades are coming in, used car is starting to get impacted by that. You got to be a good operator in used and a good operator in new, because again, you're getting an influx of leads and you don't want to leave any through the crack. And so this is going to be the next really tricky next 60 days as we feel out this tax season and what's going to happen, because it kind of breaks your year. So keep an eye out for big incentives and then attack your late model cars right now, regardless of them. I would really make sure you're dialing them down, because if we roll into July, August, summer sales events, summer sales-a-thons and big leasing and stuff, the cars that you get stuck in March and April, they could be aged by that June, July mark, and you're going to be hurting on those too. So keep your inventory moving, lean and clean. My projection right now, it seems soft, but that's kind of the normal market. We're hoping in the next 2 weeks you start seeing that increase in volume and activity. And don't be surprised if there's a big new car curveball that helps get new car sales stimulated. And if you do, you better be on your feet. So we can help you with all this. If you want to go to lotpop.com or lotwalk.com, either way, check out how we can help you navigate through this and stay ahead and take a tack on your inventory each day, either new or used. So hope this was helpful. See everybody in ADA. I'll be there Tuesday through Friday floating around. So hit me up on messaging or anything if you like to get together and hear what we can do for you in your store. Appreciate your time. Have a great week.